Are you a hopeless romantic? Do you believe in love at first sight? Are you in love with love? Well, then have I got a show for you. It's called The Notebook, and it's playing on Broadway. All right. Welcome to Bored and Confused, where I review shows based on two criteria. Was I bored and was I confused? And today's show is The Notebook. Disclaimer, I don't know the novel. I haven't seen the movie. I went in to see the show knowing really nothing about it other than that it was a love story. And it is very much a love story. In fact, there is only one storyline in the show. It's following the life of this one couple. Now, they do something very smart with the show that at first was a little confusing to me, but then when I saw why they were doing it, I went, oh, okay. They break the couple up into three couples. The story takes place at three time periods. They meet when they're teenagers for about 3 weeks, and then they come together 10 years later for one night, and then we have them in present day where they're both in a convalescent home and getting ready to die. Each period is played by two different actors. They also do colorblind casting, which I think is a great choice. You should always do. It has potential to be confusing, but in this case, it was just so obvious that we were being colorblind with the casting that it didn't matter. And then they also, to help us along, they always dress her in blue and they dress him in brown. We know who they are. They're the only two characters really in the show, other than the parents and some friends, but small secondary roles. Oh, and some nurses. The dividing of the main couple into three separate couples at different time periods was a little confusing to me at first because on Broadway, the teenagers, of course, are being played by people who aren't teenagers. They're in their 20s. And then we jump 10 years later and the next pair of actors come in. And I was like, they're what, 5 years older? They're taller. So they grew. But I was like, why are we using another set of actors? But then as we move into the show, scenes start to overlap a little bit, and then they also sing together. Then I went, okay, this was a smart choice, because the problem with a musical that's just about two people is you're stuck with solos and duets. That's all what you got for a whole show. So by giving us three couples, then all of a sudden we've got six voices, and that allows us to have some beautiful harmonies and some changes in the music. Speaking of the music, this is a show that is just built for a singer-songwriter type, because all of these songs felt like singer-songwriter songs who love to write about their relationships, but in this case they're just writing about a fictional relationship. That's why I say if you love love songs, this is the show for you, because there are a lot of love ballads in this show. And the music is lovely. It supports the characters, it supports the time. It all feels correct. Was I bored? I wasn't, but the potential for boredom is definitely there. I was a little bit on the cusp. And the reason is I'm not a hopeless romantic. I'm more of a cynic. So when you give me two characters who meet when they're teenagers, love at first sight, they know each other for 3 weeks, and then 10 years later, they come back together for one night, and they decide that they want to get married and live the rest of their lives together after knowing each other for 3 weeks and 1 day. And the male character basically is holding a torch for her for 10 years. I guess to a lot of the women in the audience, they're like, oh, he really loves her. Oh, and I was like, oh, he's pathetic. You meet her for a couple weeks, and then for the next 10 years, you pine for her. He writes her letters and she doesn't respond. And he builds a house for her. It's just crazy. And it reminds me, I always say, the only difference between a crazy stalker and a romantic love is just how the other person feels about it. And in this case, she feels great about it. She loves that he has devoted his entire life to pining for her. So in the end, she breaks off her engagement and she, spoilers, she goes to live with him in the house he built for them. And there are no spoilers here, really, because we get what's going on. They're in a convalescent home. The woman has dementia. This old guy's got a bum knee, and she doesn't know who he is. They don't tell us till later that it's her husband, but it's clear. I mean, come on, the actors are good. We get it. He's got a notebook, and he's reading her this love story. And, of course, we know as an audience, we're like, okay, that's their love story. And spoiler, it's not really, but by the end of the show, she has a moment where she shrugs off her dementia and she remembers who he is, and they have a loving moment and they spend the night together and they die. It's very hopeless romantic, this idea that they just die in each other's arms. That being said, I mean, normally this makes me want to vomit, but I did tear up a couple times in the show. So it was done effectively. The music, the direction, the actors, they were effective in telling this hopelessly romantic love story. So if you are into romantic ballads and love stories and just the power of love beats all odds, then this is the show for you, and you should go check out The Notebook, playing on Broadway.